right, folks. Texas has started something that could lead to a crypto revival. Hopefully, it starts a cascade because we could definitely use a cascade. What is that something that Texas has done? Well, they are the first state to buy Bitcoin for their reserves. This is not the Federal Reserve, this is state by state reserves. So, Texas has made history with the first ever state Bitcoin purchase. Yes, the Lone Star State. Only $10 million, but so that doesn't mean much, but they can buy a lot more in the future. And there have been many states talking about including Bitcoin as part of the reserve, even set up a reserve, but Texas is the first one to plunge in and actually buy Bitcoin. Now, $10 million, if that's all 50 states, that would be $500 million. And if it's more than $10 million, we're talking about potential billions of dollars within the first year or two, which could actually have an adequate upward effect on the price. And if states are buying Bitcoin, then I think like other companies are going to be more comfortable buying Bitcoin as well. And maybe even the US federal government, which would be the jewel prize at the end. The transactions serve as a move in state-level financial policy and sets a precedent for how U.S. public institutions may treat digital assets in the years ahead. State officials confirmed that the acquisition, valued at $10 million and completed at an approximate basis of $87,000 per Bitcoin, so they got a decent buy price. Probably could have gotten lower if they waited, but you know that governments and institutions aren't really going to be the ones that wait for the exact moment to buy in. They're going to buy whenever the legislation comes through. So that's the first step in a reserve plan that has been under development for more than a year. According to Lee Bratcher, president of the Texas Blockchain Council, the initial purpose was executed through BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust. At the same time, the state finalizes the process for direct self-custody. Information shared by Bratcher indicates that $5 million of the allocation was applied at the time of purchase, and the remaining balance aligns with the structure of the state's broader reserve commitment. So, they're saying that Texas brought the dip. Now, obviously, Texas just got the legislation passed, everything in order, so they would have bought like whenever. But it makes a nice story. So Texas becomes the first state to purchase Bitcoin with $10 million investment on November 20th at an approximately 87K basis. Congratulations to Comptroller Kay Hancock 4TX and the dedicated investments team at Texas Treasury who have been watching this market closely. Texas will eventually self-custody Bitcoin, but while that RFP process takes place, this initial allocation was made with BlackRock's IBIT ETF. So essentially, they bought an ETF, they'll eventually hold their own Bitcoin. That doesn't really matter because if they're buying Bitcoin, BlackRock has to buy Bitcoin to actually support that Bitcoin ETF. So we're in good hands now. And of course, this is, of course, there's people asking because they want crypto, they want to buy their own coins. They want Texas to buy their own coins. So obviously, no one's really paying much attention to those, especially in crypto, because this is a good event for basically all of us at this point, because we need all these states to start buying money. Obviously, some states are going to be way more skeptical than others. But if we can get at least 10, 15 of these states to actually start purchasing, I think eventual purchases will actually be a lot more than $10 million. So that's what we actually have for Texas. And I think other states like Oklahoma, Florida, I think DeSantis is pretty crypto friendly. Maybe even California because, they are kind of the hubbub of technology and a lot of the companies are actually there. I think the legislation will actually move pretty quickly throughout these states and other people will get in on the game. But we do actually need Bitcoin to rise because Texas needs to see and other states need to see that they are actually making money on their purchase as the reserve. You don't want the reserve to really massively dump in price after these states have bought it because that would kind of destroy the confidence that they have. Now, I think it would take more than that to destroy the confidence they have. But still, it's very good if we can get some upward action after these states actually buy the Bitcoin. So very, very good news. Definitely historic making. And I'm looking at some of the southern red states to actually jump in first. And maybe California and some of the other tech savvy states to actually jump in later. So that's the story that we have with Texas right now. I also want to talk about kind of like what do we need for a crypto altcoin bull run to happen, what actually needs to happen. Some people are looking solely at the Bitcoin dominance chart. They think an altcoin bull run is on the way. You're looking at Bitcoin being only at 57.9. You know, we peaked in June at 64.5. That's a significant drop of almost 7 points. And as you can see, even though we started going back up in September, we've started going down again. And if you really look at the graph right now here, both Bitcoin and Ethereum dominance are slowly dropping while other altcoin dominance is actually going up. And some people think that actually signals that the altcoin bull run is coming on. I don't think so. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin dominance isn't massively growing is a very good sign. That means the altcoin market is still alive and well, at least with respect to Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin dominance basically had just like completely just shot up, that would kind of be, you know, the complete end of the game right there. But obviously, for altcoins to really go up, we need Bitcoin to go up too. So the situation we actually need for an altcoin bull market is that Bitcoin needs to go up and the Bitcoin dominance needs to go down. Because whether like the dominance is going up or down, overall, all the crypto coins are still very much tethered to Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin goes down, even if Bitcoin dominance is going down, or just like slightly, that still means the altcoins are going down. They're just going down slightly less than Bitcoin. And like if that happens longer term, I'm sure the direction will actually reverse because Bitcoin is still at index. And, you know, especially with Wall Street doing a lot of these Bitcoin funds, I don't think it's going to lose that position for a very, very long time. So I think like if you're listening to crypto like influencers saying like we're going to get an altcoin bull market soon, because Bitcoin dominance is actually, you know, falling at like 57 or 58 or something like that. They're not telling you the whole story. They're only saying that because like Bitcoin dominance is falling, Ethereum dominance is falling a little bit, and other dominance is slowly rising only by 1% or 2%. But I mean, that might have like a kind of a dominance run, but the dominance run doesn't really matter if the overall price of Bitcoin is down. Now, what we need is the overall Bitcoin price to be up and then the dominance to go towards 40%. That's when we can have that run for a lot of altcoins. That doesn't seem to be happening right now, and that probably will take a while. Obviously, we can get really low rates next year. We can get some QE, maybe throwing that in, we can get some really, really big altcoin bursts on the way up. But for right now, I don't think that's really in the cards with economic sentiment being down a lot. Hopefully some of these altcoin ETFs will actually boost up that sentiment for altcoins. But for right now, like I wouldn't expect a big Bitcoin altcoin run. But in order to, like I said, in order to get an altcoin run, you need Bitcoin to be up past 120. You need Bitcoin dominance to be down 40 or probably like either 40 or below most likely. And overall, you need positive sentiment and positive economic sentiment in the market. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.